Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 502. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
And Brian Manjoma.
I guess Ubisoft execs need to get used to owning stock, which isn't worth a damn.
We will talk about that as well tonight, man. But other than that, I don't know what we're going to talk about, man. A very slow week in gaming, right? Nothing really happened.
Nothing really happened.
No, kind of slow. But yeah, obviously we're being facetious there. This week was crazy. The PS5 Pro, as Throwdown predicted on Sunday, because our spider sense started going off. I'm like, hold on. I think it will happen this week, bro. And it did. Like
the anniversary and stuff like that with the PS4 Pro.
Mm-hmm. So it all aligned. Yep. And yeah, so Sony just put out like a tweet. It was like, we're going to have a PS5, technical demo. It's like, oh, here we go. Mark Cerny. And then obviously we got the 9-minute presentation, which was actually sufferable. Like it wasn't as dry as typical. Probably because like Mark Cerny didn't change his approach, but they just put a bunch of fun graphics to distract you. It wasn't like that GDC talk he held. But yeah,
with the fake people.
Yeah.
It's crazy that Apple moved their event for the PS5 Pro.
It's funny, man. Shout out to Brett who just snuck in here. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Brett?
But yeah, PS5 Pro is real. We know, what it's supposed to do, and we also know how much it costs. And that last part, causing a lot of controversy. $700, bro.
I mean,
without the discount,
$700. Let's get on that. $700, no disk drive. But if you want a disk drive, cost you an extra $80 and
$80.
And if you want the vertical stand, $30. So this thing could potentially cost you $810.
So real quick,
Brett, you first. Hold on, Brett, you first.
Well, no, but I mean, number one, we first should go. Yeah. First of all, we should go as to what is actually in this thing.
Oh, PlayStation controller and Astrobots. So there.
No. Yeah. What's inside of the console?
Oh yeah, no, we'll get to that, but I want to hear Brett's take first. We'll get to that.
Yeah. I believe it was something along the lines of. I said so. I told you all. I said so.
You said $700?
Oh yeah. If you go back, like I was saying, like I'm trying to think back and remember if it was talking about, because I think it was talking about the Pro. It could have also been talking about what next gen consoles were making. But I've always been on the side of like, bro, next gen consoles and Pro from like here on out, it's like $700. And I've had a lot of people. I don't necessarily think it was all y'all, but like. Had a lot of people push back on me and say that was way too expensive, and I still maintain like, nah, it's $700.
Yeah, I don't know if we had that conversation on here on Throwdown. You may have had it somewhere else because I don't think the number 700 has popped up before.
I know we've talked about how much. Go ahead.
We never talked specific numbers before, and I think the only time we actually did was the 2 days before the announcement. Like we're on Throwdown Your Questions when we were discussing that they were going to announce, but we didn't really get into specific numbers.
Were we talking about the next gen consoles then? Because I know we've talked about something on there, and we've talked about like going above the $600 price mark, and I went like, oh no, I'm going beyond the $600 price mark. I'm landing on $700.
Yeah, I don't think that happened on this show. I don't remember having that conversation.
I'm curious,
but I'll still give you your flowers regardless.
Oh, thanks. Am I crazy? Chat, chime in and tell me if I'm crazy or not.
Yeah, let us know if we had that conversation. I don't recall that. Shout out to Chris who showed up as well. But yeah, before we get to, because again, the price is like dominating the whole conversation for obvious reasons. But let's get into what's in this thing, because there's like 3 pillars that they talked about during the show. So I'm going to read this off the PlayStation blog. so bear with me a little bit. We developed PS5 Pro with deeply what a fucking bullshit. We have asked for consoles run high fidelity graphics with smoother frame rates at 60 FPS. We achieved this on PS4 Pro with several key performance features. So we got an upgraded GPU. It says for PS5 Pro, we are upgrading to a GPU that has 67% more compute units than the current PS5 console and 28% faster memory overall. This enables up to 45% faster rendering for gameplay, making the experience much smoother. Next up here, advanced ray tracing. We've added even more powerful ray tracing that provides more dynamic reflection and refraction of light. This allows the rays to be cast as double and at times triple the speeds of the current PS5. And lastly, AI-driven upscaling. We're also introducing PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, PSSR, and AI-driven upscaling that uses a machine learning-based technology to provide super sharp image clarity by adding an extraordinary amount of detail. Little hyperbolic there. So yeah, those are the main things. Also, you get a 2 terabyte SSD, which is nice. What's up?
So just to talk about the GPU, apparently the GPU is essentially an RDNA 4, and which is not available yet.
Yeah, that part's pretty interesting.
Wait, I don't think it's all that interesting.
Yeah.
Hold on. Brett, to answer your question, says Sony because they got it from AMD. So I believe that, but I feel like this is the same situation as the whole the SSD is faster than anything on the market, and then in the same year it got released things that are faster. So I think this is just a case of, it's faster than anything that AMD has out on the market. It's like, but then when the next generation comes out and it's faster, then what?
But I'm looking at the specs right now, and it's equivalent to a 4070 Super. That's not like the strongest chip on the market.
I think we're just comparing to AMD's lineup.
Yeah, we should compare it to AMD. Brian, I want to ask you about that because this kind of sounds a little familiar to me. Didn't they boast?
That's what I said.
Yeah, no, but you're right. But like specifically, didn't they boast like this is the first system to have this technology with the PS5? I could have sworn they did, right? Well, besides the SSD. Or am I wrong?
Yeah, the SSD, it was advanced for the time. Yes.
But are they, because you know how these companies like to do, Brian, are they technically wrong with that claim?
No, they're not technically wrong. But my thing is, I just find it just to be not complete nonsense, just pure marketing. It's like saying, again, it's like the phrase that Mark Cerny says that really bugs me, and every executive says this. Like, it's the most powerful console we've ever made. It's like, well, I'd hope so. I mean, if you made a console that's less powerful than the one you already have now, then what the hell are you doing? You know? So I just see it as again, it is true that if it's better than anything that AMD has out at the market, okay, that's fine. That's true. That's possible. Not saying that's impossible. It's just more of a case of, okay, but then what happens next year when AMD releases the next lineup, or even this year?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
6 months.
It's the way they word it. Like, technically, they're correct for now, but that won't be the case later on.
But here's a question.
Hold on. Yeah, okay. Brett, what's up? Because you're getting fired up.
I'm just like, I'm trying, like, the language they're using, I'm not understanding. Like, I'm looking at the specs on this, like, it's equivalent to an AMD 7800 XT, which I'm looking at right now is on Amazon, $450.
Okay.
Brett, it's more of the tech inside. I don't know. I think it's the architecture. It uses the architecture that's not available out now, which I think it's RDNA 4 technology.
Yeah. I just said
mistaken. That. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the architecture, not the actual. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Manny. What were you saying, Manny?
Go ahead.
No, but I'm saying, like, okay, so obviously this thing's supposed to be better than what was before, right? The thing is, it's like, I always think about, like, what would a comparable graphics card for the previous PlayStation and a comparable graphics card for this be? Obviously, consumer market graphics cards are much more expensive, and than what they put inside of a PlayStation or an Xbox. And like, even like what Brett said, the GPU for the one that he said that it looks very similar to is about $400, right, on the market, and then couple in this their internally designed upscaling chip or whatever the hell that they got going on in there. My guess is that's what's causing all this inflation in prices here.
Oh no, it definitely is. And like, I just want to be clear when I'm talking, like, I think this is still probably the best gaming value dollar for dollar that you can buy to get these specs. Like, that part isn't up for debate. So I don't think, like, I'm not saying like, oh, this is bad value or anything like that. It's just, for me, I guess. Go ahead.
Keep going.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a bad value compared to PC, but I am saying that we need to be a bit wary if PC is the watershed mark that we're measuring our consoles against, because PCs have kind of gone on with runaway GPUs in the last few years, and so if that's going to be the market that dictates how expensive the consoles are going to be, then yeah, we are looking at a future where $700, $800 consoles are not going to be out of range because PCs are so expensive. So if the ceiling is set by PC, then anything below the ceiling is room for a console to play in, which is a historically higher number than consoles have ever been, even considering, other than, some failed ones like the Jaguar and whatnot. Higher than it's been, even when accounting for inflation. So I'm curious whether the runaway price market of the PC is actually going to have a strong, because like, I had kind of anticipated it, but like, I didn't look at a crystal ball and be like, oh, I know for a fact. Like, it was more like my fear of like, yo, PC prices are going up, and at a certain point, there, people are going to say like, well, this is still the best value. So even when we're paying $1,000, we're like, well, it's still the best value at, to entry point gaming in the gaming sphere, because I can buy this or a $2,000 PC. So I think it's relevant insofar as is PC going to be the ceiling that we judge the prices of our consoles against?
Yeah.
I'm going to say a lot of people, like, specifically, there was an interview with one person, somebody between a Digital Foundry person and then also IGN, and the guy sort of puts up the idea, is like, well, with the price of, the way this console is, maybe I should just go for full PC. But then he's like, the Digital Foundry guy's like, listen, if you were to do that, it would have probably cost you even more to just put together a PC. So theoretically, even though the price is it's incredibly high for a consumer grade device, it's still better. It's still better than buying a comparable PC or better.
If your only objective is the game, sure. Because remember, you get more with a PC than just a video game.
You
console.
definitely get more than with a PC, but you also get more. Like, it's a very interesting thing, because you hear about, like, again, I'm this is not something I will go for, because I don't, I'm not gonna. It's not my thing, because I don't have all the equipment to view this stuff. But at the same time, it's like, we just had iPhone, Apple just put up fucking wheels for $800, for wheels.
I know.
They're releasing a new iPad that's just slightly new iPhone that's just slightly better than the previous iPhone, and it costs more than the PlayStation does. Yes, you could do a lot of different things, but how is it that people justify paying for $1,000 phone, which is that big, compared to the console?
Because a phone does a lot more than a console could do. That's why.
It does.
I can actually answer this
so
question,
much
Manny.
more.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brett.
Well, it's just that, like, okay, so a lot of the functionality of what PC, because like people before, like, you used to have a PC for a multitude of reasons. You know, for instance, with you and I,
but
it would.
But yeah, obviously,
Manny,
yes,
let him finish. Let him finish.
Well, I was gonna say, like, now you have offloaded that to things like phones and tablets. When we're talking about things like doing art or editing video or things like that, things that you used to need a big PC for, but those other things are tragically missing the gaming component, right? Like, I can't game on the same iPad Pro that I'm using to do digital art on 90% of the time now. You know, I don't really use my laptop or my PC as much for digital art because that's all been offloaded to iPad. And I know a lot of people do like video editing on their phone and other things. So like a lot of the functionality of what we needed a PC for has been offloaded to other things, and that just kind of leaves gaming as this niche that's cut out. And so you're getting the same experience, but you're getting it a la carte.
Yeah. Brian, you were saying something about phones?
Yeah, there's just so much more things you can do on a phone. I mean, again, apart from the obvious part, again, you can make phone calls, you can go on maps, you can go on Facebook, go on YouTube, go on Twitter, go on whatever, go on dating apps. You know, there's so many more things that a phone can do, whereas a games console, by its name, and what you do is that you play games. And possibly most people would probably spend more time on their phones than playing games as a general rule. Because again, your phone is with you all the time, you know, whereas your game console is only at one location, and that's it. So again, I'm not justifying Apple's prices for the stupid phones. Do not get that wrong. Like I also hate how phones are stupidly priced. I mean, when I bought my phone, and this is like a short story, I upgraded from a Samsung Galaxy S8 about 2 years ago, and Tony will probably just be like, "What the hell? You rocking that for that long?"
Brian,
yeah,
I had an S7 for like 5 years, so I totally understand.
Okay. To other people, they're probably like, okay, Brian was rocking like an old phone for some time. It's like, yes, I was, but it was working. But when I looked to upgrade, I said, okay, let's have a look at what's on the market and what's being offered. So obviously didn't touch Apple because I was like, I know what I'll get there. So I looked at Samsung, looked at everyone else's, and I was like, these are like $800, $700 phones, and do I really need that? So I made sure to get a phone that specifically was less than $400. That was like my point, and I did. And again, as much as I can say, okay, these consoles, it's $700. I think most people are just missing the idea that if you just look at it by itself, I don't think it's a good idea as a whole, because it is just expensive. And I feel like once you start comparing to other things, saying, oh yeah, you need to, like, what does a comparable PC cost to build? Or these iPhones are like $1,000 plus. It's like you're still missing the point that the thing is still expensive. Like when Apple talks about new iPhones, they always get clowned on the internet because it's so expensive and it's a minor upgrade. I mean, you can look at that on any release on any iPhone. I'm sure Carlos and Tony will be able to tell you, like, every year is the same story. Yep. Everyone's just saying, how is this new iPhone better when it's just marginally better than the last
but they got the camera scrolling on the side. Yeah.
But then it's still the same story. Like, it's always like a marginal increase from last year, and the same thing last year, and the same thing last year. So people always clown on iPhones for being crazy expensive. Even on the GPU side, the 40 series got clowned by every reviewer that I know that does PC stuff for being stupidly expensive for the price point. Digital Foundry, Jay's 2 cents, Linus Tech Tips, they all said that these things are expensive and probably not worth the value. So I feel like when you start comparing it to these things, then it's like, yeah, these, it's kind of like a losing battle in my eyes, because then you're comparing an expensive games console to other tech that's expensive, and people clown on it because it's expensive. So to me, I feel like you're saying that, oh yeah, we should also be clowning the PS5 Pro for being expensive because it's being compared to everything else that's being clowned on for being too expensive. So that's why I'm just not a fan of comparisons of like that. And I also take some issues with some other stuff that Sony did not talk about.
You mean targeting 60 FPS? That's the part that got me. I was like, $700 and you're targeting 60 FPS? Okay, bro.
It's more just this again, the same story as last time. It's we're having a new PlayStation console with more GPU, but the CPU remains the same.
The bottleneck.
And it's like, okay, so again, and as they said, like there could be a possibility that some games out there will be PS4 Pro or PS5 Pro enhanced and may still be 30 frames. And after I read that, I was like, so I really have less than zero interest in this machine now.
Yeah. No. Also, the whole thing where the games need to be optimized in order for. I mean, it'll probably won't take as much time, but they still have to be optimized in order for it to work.
Yeah.
Another thing that I want to mention is the whole comparison with PC specs from the technical side.
Yeah.
I would take all those comparisons with a grain of salt when people say, yeah, the GPU on the PS5 Pro is like the 3070 Ti or the 3070 Super or something like that. I would take it with a grain of salt because they do this thing for laptops as well, where they say, oh, this laptop is a 4080.
But
so
it's
got to work like.
But it's not really. You know what I mean?
But it's not. Yeah. Because in a dedicated desktop PC, the 4080 has so much freaking power going into it. It's got 3 fans, and it's got all this other thing and a bigger die for the cores and everything. So it's they work differently. So I wouldn't take the whole. The GPU on the PS4 Pro, on the PS5 Pro is like this one because they're completely different worlds in the way that they're architected. And as far as the price goes, $700, I'm not surprised. It wasn't what I expected. I expected 600.
Yeah.
For a disc version. A disc version of it and maybe 500 for a digital version. So it's definitely more than what I expected, but I'm not surprised. And Tony, we kind of alluded this during Discord chat. The reason why it's $700 is not because we felt like $700 is a justified price for the Pro version because it's Pro.
It's to make up for the money lost for Concord.
Well, that too. But it's an even bigger fish that they're trying to fry.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with this. I agree with what you're about to say, 100%.
They're indoctrinating us into thinking that $700 consoles is normalized. So when the PSX comes out, do not be surprised if it's $700.
Yeah, I find it very hard to believe that the successor to this system is going to cost less. I find that very hard to believe.
Oh no, it's going to be $799.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at this point, anything goes, man.
Think about it like this. Yeah. Think about it like this. The PS5 Pro is coming out 4 years after the PS5.
Yeah.
Most of the components are the same. It's just a different GPU. The memory bandwidth to the GPU is a little bit different, and it's got like this new chip for AI and bullshit like that, right? It's minimal stuff.
Yeah.
No CPU changes. Everything else is the same.
It took them 19 months to develop this thing. So, like you said in the chat, the R&D's mostly been done for this thing,
Yes. And it's 4 years after the fact, and it's $700. The PS6 is going to have a completely different architecture, completely different CPU, completely different GPU, and you expect it to cost $500 3 years after the PS5 Pro comes out? No freaking way! This thing is gonna be expensive, fellas.
Yep, I agree. I think the sky's the limit now. Remember, before the PS5 came out, I was very vehement that no console is going to cost $500. We've seen what happens with consoles cost $500. Now I'm like, I don't fucking know. They may cost $1,000 now. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, well, the question is, when does it become too much? And I feel like this is one of those situations.
Well, we'll only see that when it hits the market.
Yeah.
When it becomes too much is when the market rejects it, right? That's absolutely the case here. Sony is pushing the market, right? And the market pushes back. This happened with the 3DS at launch. The price was too high, 250 versus like 160 or 70 for the DS. So that the market pushed back. Like the initial sales were poor, and Nintendo then dropped the price and added free games on top of it.
But the other thing about it is, so it's like, okay, so this is we'll just say it. It's the supposed enthusiast console.
Yeah.
Even in the previous generations, when they did put these things out, these weren't making the same numbers as the regular ones.
No, it wasn't meant to either.
It's wasn't really meant to.
Yeah.
So it's like, at the same time, it's like, I hate to say it, but you don't need to really buy it. It's $700 that if you already own a PlayStation 5 and it's only maybe a marginal upgrade over the previous one, where it's using because it's using frame generation, or AI to upscale, so which means that they're running the games that are at 1080p, in performance, pretty much in performance mode, with all the bells and whistles and ray tracing all running at the same time, and they're using an AI upscaler on it.
Yeah, I mean, again, NVIDIA and AMD use the same techniques, so
they're using the they use the similar
kind of interesting to see it on consoles.
But when you analyze the frames, which a lot of people have been analyzing some of the stuff using those examples, you notice a lot of that AI bullshittery that's going on there in the backgrounds, where it's not able to resolve certain types of detail because it doesn't have enough information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, granted, if you're fine with that, like, if you're fine with people looking like bizarro monsters in the distance, okay.
Yeah. Is that something that's prevalent with like NVIDIA and AMD's solutions? Because I'm not aware of that.
I don't know what their solutions look like. All I know is that I saw what Sony was offering. It wasn't that impressive, I can tell you that.
Yeah. Who did a breakdown? Was it Digital Foundry?
It was like a side-by-side comparison of what the AI upscaling was. It was on Spider-Man, so they showed a bunch of stuff, and then had that weird resolve where, in other words, it sort of gooeyed everything together in the background. Obviously, things in the foreground are going to look great. Things in the background are going to start to looking weird, especially if there's not enough information back there.
Yeah, this was an issue with, I think, FSR 1, and I think around AMD. FSR 2, they resolved it to some degree. Again, I don't remember because I haven't seen them in a while, but that was an issue in like the first generation of these things. But generally the NVIDIA option is
with DLSS 2, Brian. Did DLSS experience that in the beginning?
Oh yeah, DLSS 1 with Final Fantasy 15 was, again, it had its issues. Yeah. It was basically pegged as it's cool tech, but it's just not that great yet. And then the second one was a lot better. So it seems like things have improved. But again, I would love to see comparisons with see how this stacks up with the PC offering equivalents, to see, okay, let's see how does it work any better or any less, or roughly where does it stand? Because I'm sure Digital Foundry will spend weeks on end just combing through the corners of all these games. So
I am looking forward to that. But Brian, to your point, like, I guess since this is the first version of PSSR, that kind of stuff would be expected, wouldn't it? Just like it was with FSR and DLSS.
To some degree.
Or do you think they should have learned? Or do you think they should have learned from those other technologies?
I would think that they would have learned, because I think at least with AMD's offering, they would have seen that, okay, let's wait it out. Let's see how V2 of FSR works out. And from what again, the FSR 2 stuff that I remember seeing was mostly in what's that Souls game with guns that you really like?
Remnant. Yeah.
Remnant. Yes, with that. So I would assume that they would have been in heavy contact with AMD, especially if they're getting some like next generation AMD tech.
Yeah.
So I would assume that they're also in talks to also use or learn of AMD's learning. So hence, it should be better than the first generations of
that's a good
FSR
point.
stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because isn't this still like AMD CPU and GPU? Like, yeah. So yeah, you're right. You're right. There's not really an excuse there. You know, very interesting. But regardless,
Also,
go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Just add to Manny's point about these being the enthusiast platforms. From what I read the other day, they said about 15% of PS4 sales were the Pro version.
Yeah, and I believe Sony said Sony kind of expects that with this one as well. Not a driver of systems; it's just for the crazy people that want to buy it.
Yeah,
Although I will say this though, just to be fair here, I do think if because. I'll get to my specific situation in a bit, but if I was a console-only gamer, I would buy this, right? But I'm not a console-only gamer, so it's kind of pointless. But if I was only a console guy, and specifically only a PlayStation guy, sure, But I would have to be a hardcore motherfucker too, I think you're getting where I'm going with this. I'm not buying this fucking thing. No way.
So let me
way. And Brett, to your point too, before you go on, what's one of the main reasons besides the tech and all that? What did you ask me about a month ago? Because I remember back then I said I am going to get it. And you asked me, Tony, what games are you going to play on? And I was like, oh shit, you're right. That's the point. $700 to play The Last of Us 2. And I'm not even saying that's a fucking joke. They showed that game during the presentation.
God
really?
Damn it.
Are you fucking kidding me right now, Sony? Nah, bro.
Well,
go ahead, Chris.
Well, that was my point back when I did the financials for the end of the year for Sony, when they said we don't have any projected new IPs for or new games for 2024, which wasn't quite true. I mean, they had Concord for whatever that's worth, and they have Fair Game. What you have to do is you need software to push hardware, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this shouldn't just be, like Manny said, this shouldn't just be an enthusiast system. If you have a mid-gen refresh, you have to worry about conversions and upsells, right? Conversions is people who don't have a PS5 right now. You're convincing them to buy this system, right? This is a system they should invest in because of X, Y, and Z reasons. And then you have upsells, which is us, right? We have a PS5. Why the hell am I upgrading to this thing and spending $700? Well, the reason for that for people who already own is software. Is you have a game that exploits the system in a way that cannot be done with what you currently have. Just putting patches and these AI half steps on this is just it's just, I think it's poor decision making. They should have spent the R&D soft dollars on the next PlayStation, right? You don't need this half step. I think it's a mistake. They have made plenty of mistakes. The only one they haven't made is Astrobot. There's more to come. I think Fair Games is going to crash and burn.
Yeah.
And and this thing is probably going to sell worse than PS4 Pro. So I don't think this was a smart move. I don't think they can sell this just off of buzzwords and we have this new technology that's not available yet. That's this. Again, all this is half steps. They should have spent the time and resources on PS6. Given this time to breathe, you have a year without really good new IPs, then you should have just, if you were planning to coast, then that should have been the plan, right? Not launch a whole new a mid-gen refresh in the middle of an arid season. Doesn't make any sense.
I mean, again, it could be a situation where it's all of their so-called investments in those 12 service games sort of left a giant hole in it because of all those games are not working out. Theoretically, should be playing Concord on this new this new console, right? Theoretically, we also should be playing what's that other one? The other multiplayer game that they sort of put out.
Hellblade. I mean, Helldivers. Sorry, Helldivers 2.
Helldivers 2. So
Foam
theoretically, those, Foam Stars. So all those titles that have been that are in there are probably the ones that they were banking on to take them through this year. But they went and killed Concord on the day Astrobot came out. So what are you?
Oh, they also gutted Bungie.
And they gutted Bungie.
Yeah.
For whatever they had going on there. They said they didn't even have a new Destiny game in the pipeline. I guess it was all about what the hell's that game? Marathon, which again another game going in the wrong direction of the actual original game. What is it? The narrative driven game, and they turned it into a piece of multiplayer garbage.
I forgot about Marathon. God damn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was like the game that was mentioned on the same level as like System Shock back in the day. That was Apple's System Shock, right? So I don't know. Again, it's a weird one to the release. And then there's the two biggest issues with this presentation. Number one, old games. They're showing Spider-Man 2. They're showing, The Last of Us, remastered or whatever the hell it's called. Last of Us 2 remastered. A bunch of old games. I'm sorry, guys. Like
Demon Souls.
Yeah, Demon Souls. Like the first generation, first of those games. They're literally showing all of those games on this thing.
Why?
So you're telling me you're launching this on launching this on the fact that it'll just make your old games look slightly better. Number two, the fucking stream is in the wrong resolution. You're telling me you're doing a whole fucking live screen showing us how much better the fucking graphics are, and it's a goddamn live stream which has a lower resolution. What?
Did they upload a 4K after the fact?
Later on, they probably did do that, but that's how they were probably able to get that footage for Spider-Man where you didn't see all that goofy detail in the background. But he's telling you, look at how great these shots, look how much better this shot A and shot B look. But you can't fucking tell.
I'd like to, but I can't.
Yeah,
I can't tell the difference because his fucking stream is at such a low resolution. Mark should have fucking known better. He should have just said, hey, listen, upload the video. Don't do a live stream. Just upload the video at this time, and that's it.
Okay,
not
I gotta
this
say.
bullshit. Not this stupid-ass bullshit. Like, can you tell the difference between these two blurry-looking images?
Well,
no!
Bro, this was the most Emperor's New Clothes moment I have seen in a hot minute because a lot of people were saying that they could. Let me be like, oh, yeah, we can get a difference, right? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, those ponies, man, they were out in force too, defending the price and all that. Rich, get in here, man. You've been quiet this whole time. I want to hear your thoughts. Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. There he is.
Rich,
sorry about that. We had a bit of a connection issue.
Yeah, just your overall thoughts on PS5.
He's not interested.
Yeah, maybe. That's why he was quiet,
Well,
why would we need this thing?
Well, first and foremost, I would like to give a shout out to Chris as well as Manny, because both of you said exactly what I was going to say, which is, why the hell do I need to get a PS5 Pro to play old games at a higher performance? That to me is, because I saw a lot of people online, they was very happy, like, oh, I can't wait to pick this up. And listen, I'm not going to tell people how to spend money if they want to spend money, but for me personally, I got to see something specifically that runs on this console to make me interested. Now, obviously, I'm sure there are games in development that they cannot talk about yet. They're going to save that for, I guess, the Game Awards or whenever they announce, whatever they're going to announce coming to PS5. I'm pretty sure, though, Death Stranding 2 PS5 Pro, that will be talked about at Tokyo Game Show. But I didn't see anything in that presentation that made me feel like I must have this console. I could not do it. But hey, it is what it is. Like you guys said, I don't think they really are trying to get every PS5 owner to upgrade. But I definitely would have at least had some type of software or something to show off to really fully utilize what this system is capable of. So they failed in that regards, for sure, 100%.
Yeah. I also got to bring this up. So again, this doesn't have a disk drive, but you can buy a PS5 Pro disk drive for $80, and it's currently outselling the Xbox in America. I'm smelling scalpers here. You know,
it's not a PS Pro disk drive.
That's what it's called.
It's not. It's what it is it's the PlayStation disk drive in general. It's the same disk drive that goes inside of the Slim. There's no difference.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm telling you, that's what they're calling it. You know,
they're bullshitting because it's the same disk drive. It's the same. If you have a PlayStation Slim, it uses the new PlayStation.
They probably want to
5
sucker
Pro
you into buying it. You know,
it's the same thing. It's the same disk drive. So it's the PlayStation 5 Pro uses the same plates as the PlayStation Slim, and it uses the same disk drive as the Slim. And probably the reasoning why is because they designed both of these stupid things at the same time. So now you can just mix and match and use all the same peripherals and stuff over and across the two things. The only difference is the vents that are in the center of the console now. So instead of the plates going butted up against each other, now they split through like maybe three up. So it means that the console is about as thin as the original. Is the PlayStation Slim, but it's taller, which might mean that it puts it back up at the same size as the OG PlayStation 5. I don't know what the measurements are.
Yeah. Assyrian Air Force, we've been saying it's $80. I don't know why you keep repeating that. $80.
Yes, it's yes, it's $80.
We've been saying
it's always been $80.
Yeah,
it has always been $80. So theoretically, if you've invested in the PlayStation Slim, you can reuse your disk drive and put it onto the new Pro.
Yeah.
So
anyway, but I do find it funny that the drive is outselling the Xbox right now. That's hilarious.
What's Xbox got? It's got a Starfield looking like Xbox. I know. It's got a little bit more memory. Though I noticed that since he's not at Xbox anymore, he can now directly say things about them. He's like, hey, so
who's he?
It's Larry.
Yeah,
Mr. Larry actually said, hey, Sony, what's up with that price? Hey, PlayStation, what's up with that price?
Yeah, we saw a Black Metal Gamer. Thank you for that, for the super chat.
I would say the other thing, it's like, I don't know, man. It's a big old mess. I mean, here, let's put the question out to the guys, like in the chat. Like, are you guys are you invested? Are you gonna go down and pay $700 for maybe a slight upgrade over your things? I mean, granted, now they'll be able to run full ray tracing on things, as opposed to, because if you notice, a lot of games have been sort of pulling back on the ray tracing. Astrobot, as nice as that game looks, that game's not using any of the ray tracing at all. It's all baked stuff that they're using. Any of the reflections and stuff that you see over there, they're all screen space. Black Myth Wukong, Digital Foundry has also said, quite a bit about the PlayStation version of that game, where they're literally using motion flow or frame generation within their pipeline, which adds, to hit that 60 frames per second line, but also it adds latency to the game.
Yeah. So Brett, you asked who's getting it. Blitz says no. Assyrian Air Force says buying day one, and Kishak says I'm interested. So that's 2 positives and 1 negative. But yeah, for the rest of you guys, let us know if you're going to buy this thing. Remember, our audience are pretty hardcore PlayStation guys, so
are you guys gonna? Are you guys? I mean, have you guys all gone all other than all day digital? Have you guys all gone digital? No, so or are you going to? Are you going to invest in the disc drive too?
Yeah, for you guys who are buying it, are you going to get the disc drive too?
And alternatively, I want to ask another question. Like, do you guys think that this will drive more migration towards PC with a cost this high?
Yeah, I answer that. I mean, I guess we could answer that too. I mean, because again, if you want to get a PC, you're gonna have to spend a little bit more than $700. You know?
Well, yeah, of course, but like the price gulf between the two platforms is kind of narrowing. So at a certain point, like, do you think that people will say, well, fuck it, I may as well just get a PC at this point? I mean, I've heard several people actually say that exact sentence, but I'm curious whether you think that those people are the outliers or whether this could drive more people towards PC.
I don't know. That's a good question. Oh, by the way, Kishak says digital all the way. I haven't used a disc since 2005. And Assyrian Air Force says he will buy the PS4, the disc drive. By the way, you know what you can do as an alternative? Get the ROG Ally, which is a handheld PC that you could also connect to a monitor and keyboard and stuff. There you go. You got.
Does that run ray tracing?
Well, it depends. You know. But you can do that. But again, you get more than just a gaming thing. You get a PC. You know. Probably
get a mini PC, but you could also buy a laptop and connect that to your monitor.
But that'll be television screen. But that'll be more than $700. I'm talking about under that. Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So now you're buying like a mini mediocre PC.
Kind of, but it's still more than a console. It gives you. Go ahead, Rich.
So I just have one question, and this is not meant to get any controversy, but we'll see what happens. So this system is coming out November 7th, correct?
Yes.
So I just want to ask you and the panel, as well as the fans, how do you think people will respond? This comes out November 7th. And then I want to say January, February 2025, Spider-Man 2 comes to PC, along with all the other games that we already know are going to come to PC. Do you think the PS5 Pro people will care? Do you think Sony fans will be angry about that? I'm just curious what you guys think about that, because we all know that's going to happen.
Sony fans will always be angry about that.
Yeah, well, that was my answer. Yeah. They're going to be angry.
Yeah, they'll always be angry about it.
But I'm glad you asked that question, because that is one of the reasons I'm not going to bother with this, right? Like, why, bro? As a matter of fact, I'm going to say something that probably will be controversial, Richard.
Uh-oh.
If things keep going along this trajectory, expensive consoles, PlayStation exclusives coming to PC eventually, I'm seriously wondering why I should bother with a PS6.
Unless you like the FOMO. Unless you can't resist the FOMO.
I don't care about the FOMO in this case.
Well, no, I mean,
and I'm not a dedicated game reviewer anymore.
Right now, there is no other than Astro's Playroom, which you're playing currently now. On maybe Black Myth and Stellar Blade.
Black Myth is on PC. I've been playing on PC.
Sorry. I mean, Stellar Blade is one of those ones.
Yeah.
So I mean, you still have that space between, and you have at least. How long is what is the longest time it's been between the PlayStation and the PC? Maybe a year or two, right?
That you mean the shortest time? Because remember, in some cases it was like 4 years. Yeah, but the shortest time was like 6 months with Death Stranding. That came out pretty fast, But
6 months, 6 months Death Stranding. That's the smallest one, but everything else, like God of War, we only just recently got maybe
God of
last
War's
year
coming.
We got God of War.
God of War Ragnarok's coming now. Yeah.
No, we're coming now. So that's like about 2 years.
Yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah.
It's like 2 years. So it seems like 2 years in release. So if you can resist the FOMO of the 2 year release.
Yeah. Again, I'm not making a definitive statement. I'm saying I'm actually considering it. Something I never would have considered in my life. It was always PlayStation drops console, getting it day one. This is the first PlayStation console in over 20 years where I'm like, I'm not getting this thing. That says a lot. You don't need to. You know, you don't
really need to.
You know, but even with this, hold on, Brett. But even with the PS5, I could have gone without buying it for 2 years.
Yeah,
right.
You could have waited. Nearly as long as I did.
You see my point, right? Why am I going to get a PS6 day one? Right, where not only are the games coming to PS6 to PC, but the PS6 games are going to be playable on PS5. The fuck's the point?
There are going to be no PS6 games. Like that's,
they're not.
That's the weird point that we're at. Like the last generation really proved like before it was kind of like, we kind of feel this way, but this last generation really proved that they are no longer doing distinct generations. They said they weren't. They proved they weren't. That argument is dead and in the ground, right? So they are not doing it. So you could say, I don't need it because there's nothing to play in a kind of hyperbolic sense of like they aren't coming out with any new games, and so I don't really need a console to not play games that don't exist. But even outside of kind of ghoulish hyperbole, it doesn't make sense because you will already be able to play the games that they release on the hardware you already have. Like you're not boxed out. So it's not even kind of, a figure of speech or overkill or anything like that to say like, I don't need it. Like you literally and genuinely don't need it. Your life will not change. Like, and I get wanting to play leading edge cool. And if you have disposable income, cool, totally get it. Been there, not there myself right now, but been there before. But even then, like, it just, when I got the PS5, like, I have just been disappointed because, like, I want to play something on that I need the PS5 for, but I haven't found that. And honestly, the best I'm going to get is when they release the PS6, maybe then they'll finally release PS5 games regularly. But I don't need to upgrade my system at that point. I can wait until I feel the need instead of preemptively jumping up. And that's things like they had trained consumers to kind of preemptively jump up and upgrade because there's this kind of unspoken contract between like, there's going to be this new content. Now I feel like, with a lot of consumers, it's tough buying groceries and they haven't really had their last purchases justified. So that behavior, that contract it's kind of off now. So I know that there are a lot of people who are, just like, look, and I totally get it. I don't blame anybody for being like, hey, I'm team PlayStation and I'm going to get the newest PlayStation. And I'm not saying that I'm team Xbox and I'm going to get the newest Xbox. Honestly, it's going to be the first generation where I don't think I need to upgrade my console right away. Just period. I can wait 2 years and see who fights out better for it. It's because my faith in PlayStation or in Sony has definitely been lost over this last generation. My faith in Microsoft, while it has been somewhat restored, it doesn't mean that we're neck and neck. Like Sony came down a little bit, Microsoft came up a little bit, but honestly, I'd still like if I had to blindly buy a new system, it would still probably be a Sony console at this point. But, and I can't believe I'm even saying this, that might change in the next couple of years. At this point, all bets are off. So, why in this environment, especially, would I want to sink $800 into either new console when I could just use the ones I already have and see how that pans out?
Yeah, not really going to miss out on games, So
yeah, I'm not going to miss anything.
Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, man, when it comes to gaming. All right. Any last thoughts on the PS5 Pro?
Yeah, I have a few things to add as well, which is on the back of what Brett said. So PS5 Pro is coming out 4 years post PS5 launch, and if it's mid-gen, does that assume that now it's an 8-year life cycle?
Yeah.
Which, given how recently it was 7 years, which was up from 5 years, it just seems like gen's getting longer and longer. So that's also weirdly sort of depressing in that way. Yeah, and the other thing as well that I'm not a big fan of is I feel like this is Sony's push to for people to going digital, given how they're dealing with things, and that they're not including a disc drive. And it just means that anyone who's disc-based is going to be... Again, they're going to have a harder time justifying the PS5 Pro, because then it's also the extra cost of the disc drive. Assuming that they already don't have the Slim with the disc drive. So there's that. So it's just, again, as you and Brett said, this is like a weird dire time, and I'm not overly happy with things. And just to touch on the things that you and Brett mentioned, that this is potentially setting up the idea that the PS6 will be $699 from launch, because again, I don't see the PS6 being cheaper than the PS5 Pro at launch. Way. So at best, it'll be the same price, which is funny enough to say because that's what I'm hoping, at least the same price. But yeah, we don't know. And one last thing, just to add, why the hell did they increase the price of the controllers by $5?
By $5, yep, that's another one.
Like, second I seen that news, I had like a weird thing in the back of my neck where I was like, this is weirdly expensive. Like, this is weird timing. And then I just had this weird inkling that if they do announce the PS5 Pro, it's going to be more expensive than I thought. And given that I thought it was going to be $499, hopefully, I was like, okay, so maybe it's going to be $599. And then, of course, hearing $699, I was like, oh, that's much worse. So, yeah, I don't know how things are. And my last thoughts are, was it just me, or did that conference feel very much like an Apple conference?
Is it because you still had the Apple conference in your head from the previous day? No, just the kind of air and the presentation and the styling and the words being used. You know, it just felt almost like an Apple thing. You know, again, Tony, Tim, is it Tim Cook? Yeah, Tim Cook. Curry. Tim Curry's from MTV, you know.
So Tim, you know how Tim Cook will stand there in front of the green screen and say, "Oh yeah, we're bringing these new things to iOS, blah blah blah," and then there'll be like an infogram with stuff like flashy things on screen, and then he'll show that, "Oh yeah, it's X times more powerful than the last one." It just had that air to it of like, "Oh yeah, this feels very Apple-esque."
They needed Federini doing some crazy stuff, you know. Then it would have totally been Apple. By the way, Black Metal Gamer, yes, we made that joke about Concord earlier in the show. You know, it's he keeps saying it's the Concord tax.
Oh my God, Brian, you said something that made me just realize something. If they have to show the power of their new console with graphs instead of video games, I feel like we've approached a place where we have a problem.
Yeah, I mean they did that with like Ducks with PlayStation 2, so you know Sony has that.
Yeah, but like I guess like if they're just like it's this time much more powerful, it's like just show me a sizzle reel of what it looks like.
Oh, they did.
Why
they
did
did.
You show me graphs?
They did have a sizzle reel with The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, that's kind of like the weird thing as well. Where again, talking from an honest point of view here, how best do you demonstrate the PS5 Pro advantages over the PS5?
Yeah, I guess you would have to show old games that you've seen, you know? Yeah, that's true. Because
again, with the PS5 from the PS4 to PS5, they will say, okay, look, here's Spider-Man, here's you swing through the city, and as you can see, the PS4 version is choppy, whereas PS5 is nice and smooth. Again, that is very easy to show, you know, it's simple enough. Whereas with the PS5 Pro, it's like, okay, you're not really getting more frame rates in some games, so you can't really show that. So hence, you can only show getting more detail, and obviously you need to do like the Digital Foundry zoom and enhance thing, and obviously that's open for clowning, because obviously again it's not simple to show that. It's very much you need to point out and say, oh yeah, look at this thing in this corner, look at that thing, look at the grass here, the grass there. It's slightly different. And it's like it's difficult to show, so I don't envy them for that, because I also think that showing that type of difference is very, very difficult. So I will give them that, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, I don't think they had any other option to show it the way they did. As much as I clown on it, and everyone else is, again, how else can you show the difference?
I mean, in a hypothetical world where you had the option of announcing a new game, and then halfway through like a new game trailer announcement, kind of show like the screen like slide over with a partition that shows like how this game looks on PS5 and now how it's going to look on PS5 Pro, and that's your PS5 Pro announcement.
True, but then also it's again there might be the point of the PS5 version is being gimped, or PS5 version is just not as great looking, and that also might be problems PR wise.
I mean, I feel like that's going to be a comparison you're going to invite no matter what. It's by its nature not as good as the PS5, or it's by its nature not as good as the PS5 Pro. That's the whole point of a PS5 Pro, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, it's a weird thing, like hopefully whatever differences in the PS6, they'll be able to show it. I mean, even then, again, with the PS5, they say, okay, look, we have ray tracing. Here's game with ray tracing. Here's game without ray tracing. Look at the difference,
Honestly,
they can show that, and it's instantly that, okay, you can tell that one looks kind of more like reflection, whereas one deflections kind of look a bit weird. So they can show that. Frame rates they can show. Streaming speeds they can show. So these are things that you could instantly see, well, mostly instantly see the difference in, whereas resolution changes, it's difficult to show and problematic. I mean, this is why most PC cards, they show frame rates, because frame rate's a number, and you just say, number higher. Ooh.
I get that, and maybe I'm the only one that feels. I just feel like we've lost the lead when we're like talking about going to see. I know this is a bad example before I make it, but like the new Transformers, because by the graph data it shows it has 16% more explosions. Like, we're talking about something that's supposed to be a fun and visual medium, and we're using graph data to try and show that. Like, where's the sizzle reel? Where's the soul? Where's the funk on it? Like, I don't know, man. Like,
by the way, in all fairness, Brett, they did say this was a technical showcase, so you knew it was going to be all nerdy stuff.
I mean, I appreciate the nerdy stuff too, but like, I guess I just feel like this whole thing would have gone down so much better if you had a game announcement, even just fucking one, right? Because like this did just feel like, and I hate using this thing, but it just felt mathy. It felt like math, right? Like
it was a technical showcase. They literally told you that.
Yeah. I know that, but we're talking about a video game console. It's a technical showcase about a video game console.
Yeah, it's tech. It's tech, dude. Like it's like if this was a PS5 showcase, yes, games. But if you say technical, we're going to get into numbers. So I think you may be expecting something that they weren't promising you.
Well, I mean, to be honest,
hold on,
maybe let them respond first.
Good.
Real quick. It's not that I don't expect them to show me the graphs, right? It's that I don't expect me to show me only graphs. I guess like it's. I want to know. I want to know how much. I want to see number go bigger, right? That part of my brain still exists.
Okay,
but I don't feel they did a great job of like visually showing me the difference at all. They're like, look at this thing that looks identical. Fair. Now let's show why on paper it's better. I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's on paper better if you just showed me and I can't tell the fucking difference.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough, but you don't need a new game for that. You could just have a technical demo thing or whatever, like.
Well, it just kind of shows me that it's not pedantic. It just kind of and I guess, but like we're not really having anything that's pushing. It's like if I came out with a new monitor that says like, check it out, I came out with a new monitor that shows 15 quintillion colors, and if you're like, well, can the eye see that many? I'm like, no, and you're like, okay, well. So this monitor shows color and wavelengths of light the human eye can't see. Like, that's correct. But on paper, it shows 10 times more color. Like, okay, well, how does that affect me? And, like, I get that, again, numbers go bigger, brain go burr. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But
by the way, go ahead.
I want to know that I will, I'll be able to tell some sort of difference, and that it isn't just, this imperceivable number kind of thing. And I feel like that was the part of the pie that they were missing.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's fair enough. By the way, I literally, without getting to specifics, I literally went to an event today where I did get to see new monitors, and what they typically do is with numbers show you the refresh rate, the response time, and things of that nature.
Is that how you buy monitors?
That's how I do. It's like, hey, okay, what's the refresh rate on this thing? What's the response time? Those are, what's the resolution? Those are things. Those are numbers that help you decide if you want to buy it or not. Oh
no, they help me decide. They help me narrow it down, but I don't buy a TV without seeing it.
Okay, it's right. I mean,
I don't buy a monitor
That's interesting. So you actually have to go to the store to buy your TV and look at it.
I go to the store to scout out different TV models. Yeah, I can look at all the numbers I want, but when I'm standing in front of a wall of TV and one looks the best, that one looks the best.
Yeah,
I can then check to make sure, what is the refresh rate on this monitor? Same with the monitor. We just went and bought a monitor. I did my research, but then we went to Sony and stood in front of the wall of monitors, and we're like, which one looks the best? That one looks the best. Guess what? That's one of the 3 monitors I had researched, and now I have the research to back it up. But standing there, you can tell, oh, that one looks really fucking good. So, I kind of feel like that part needs to be, and I know you're not going to be able to do that with a console, but, I guess, I won't buy a monitor strictly because number go bigger. I want to make sure that, it looks better.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
So,
go ahead, Manny.
Well, I mean, a lot of people were saying that, to be honest, they didn't. Sony didn't do the job that a digital foundry would do in this situation. Where if you couldn't see the difference, they would literally, show the thing flashes between them so that you could see what was saying. They would do the side by side, but they would also be like, okay, look, this is missing. Look, hey, look, the draw distance is different. Oh, hey, look, the frame count. We've counted the amount of pixels per screen and it was a very sort of like you said, it was a very sort of Apple way of doing things, where they're saying there's differences, but you're not really seeing any sort of differences because they don't go into that sort of detail. If this was a true technical showcase, you're not only just throwing the numbers of how many teraflops and stuff, but you also would actually see a frame counter on the screen. In other words, really try to push it home. Frame counter, or how how Digital Foundry shows, what frames are skipped or how the things are doing. Obviously, Sony wouldn't probably do that because
I was just about to say that. Yeah,
a giant hole it pokes a giant hole into what they're saying.
I was just about to say that.
To be honest, you know what? Microsoft went to Digital Foundry with their console, with the Xbox.
That's true.
Series X. And they let them do all the usual shit that they do with that stuff. Just saying, here, do what you need to do, so we can see, so they can see what this is. And it would have been nice if they were as candid as that.
Sony wasn't going to do that. Sony was not going to do that.
No, they're not going to do that. They're going to do this. To be honest, this was was what we call, what I think of as the sexy conference. They give you the numbers and big numbers.
Apple conference.
And then they show you it's a very much of an Apple conference.
Yeah,
with their white console.
But Sony didn't have those mysterious Apple graphs that were like, what does that mean exactly? Even NKPHC is like, I still don't know what these charts mean. Oh man! All right, any last thoughts on the PS5 Pro? Shaboy, what's going on, Riku? He goes, I'm getting that Pro for Dynasty Warriors Origins, baby. So he's getting it. But yeah, so, I think it's safe to say that nobody on Throwdown is going to buy this thing, right?
Nah, not really.
Not even you, Carlos. Again, not even you. Where's Carlos at? Man, get in here, bro.
One thing, Tony, it would alleviate some of the complaints that you have about playing PlayStation 5 games. Like, man, this game runs like shit. You know, it runs slightly better now.
But the problem is, I play like 2 PlayStation games a year. You know, go ahead, Rich.
I just want to make a comment. If Carlos does get the PS5 Pro, I'll be sure to get you a copy of The Last of Us Part 2, Carlos. Because since you predicted they were going to show that game, and once again, they showed
Cleo
it.
struck again, you know?
Richard.
I mean, you have a better track record than the what's his face? Some of those insiders, Carlos.
Grubby, Harry and the Hendersons, you know.
Oh,
Harry and Grubby, man. You better.
Yeah, you
Why
better.
aren't you getting the big bucks, Carlos?
You know, Carlos, I can actually say I will get you the new version of the old Last of Us that they just released when the PS6 comes out. I don't know when the PS6 is coming out, but I guarantee you they will have just released a new old version of The Last of Us.
Brett, save your money and spend it on me, but spend it on GTA 5 for the PS6, because you know that shit's gonna be shown in that too. So the whole thing with the PlayStation 5 Pro, I'm not gonna get it. I don't know if this is a surprise, or because I usually get all the new tech. I got the PS4 Pro. Yeah, shocking the world. I got the PS4 Pro. I got 2 PS4 Pros last gen, and I got an Xbox Series X or Xbox One X last generation. No more, man. That's it. I'm done.
Cutting it off. You know.
This is it.
This is it. So yeah, nobody on Throwdown is gonna be getting it, but we still will be getting you guys this console as we promised. So when it's released, we'll have a nice giveaway, and one of our lucky listeners will get a PS5 Pro. We have, and remember, and this is being paid for by you guys or your generous contributions over the years. So thank you for that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I guess we're gonna have, since Riku is a shoo-in, we might have to get him to come on to talk about the what he thinks about it.
Yeah. Here's the thing,
Riku.
Yeah, Riku. Go ahead.
Riku, put a pin in your schedule.
Yeah, November 7th.
Riku, how does Netflix work on the PS5 Pro?
Oh man, I'll probably review it though. For work and stuff. So I'm pretty good with Sony, so I'll at least get to check that out. But I'm not gonna buy this thing. There's no point. Here's the thing, and man, I'm glad you kind of brought up the whole PS4 Pro thing. Back then, I was playing a lot of PlayStation games, so it was worth it to me because I got fed up. I was like, "What's up with these graphics and performance?" It was worth it to me to get a PS4 Pro. I think that was a great investment. But for this shit, no, I don't play enough because there aren't enough PlayStation 5 games. This year, I played Stellar Blade was the last one. Now I'm playing Astrobot. After that PlayStation is going to be sitting collecting dust for the rest of the year. I'm not even being hyperbolic. What else is coming?
I'm a hater, and I have a PlayStation 5 Pro.
Yeah. You do? You have PlayStation 5 Pro?
Yeah.
Where'd you get it?
4. No, I got a PS4 Pro. I got a PS5 Pro.
Yeah. Yo, man, you already got that shit already, yo?
I don't fucking believe that. Yeah. No. I got a PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
And I'm a hater, but no, I'm not getting a PS5 Pro. There's not enough fucking games for it.
So not enough games.
If they would, as much as I talk shit, if there were games out, I would still probably get it. Because I talk shit, but it's because I care.
Yeah. If there were plenty of games, I'd buy this shit. I'm like, there's a lot of exclusives, man, that are coming. Let's go.
Well, bro, here's the thing. Carlos brings up a good point, though. With GTA, I can see a lot of people buying the Pro for GTA. Especially for the online component.
Yeah, I can see that. I won't though.
Any small edge against your phone. Here's the other bit that I don't get. Well, I'm here and get some off my chest a little bit. Why? I really wish that they would kind of focus a model, even if it were just an offshoot of the Pro, on a streamer / content creator model. If I'm correct, when y'all are streaming off of the consoles, do you take a performance hit?
I think the Elgato does most of the heavy lifting in that case.
Okay.
But you're talking about like, no, because you can just stream directly. That's a good question. Hey, Riku, you're on here. When you hit the share button and start streaming, no third-party hardware involved, just through the PlayStation 5, is there a performance hit? Because I don't know, because I've always there isn't, right? You don't.
There never has been.
Yeah. All right, Brett. So no, there isn't.
I thought that there was a resolution drop. I could be wrong.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, like it. The way whatever they have running on there, it's totally separate from whatever's running on, whatever the console's running. So I like when I had my issues with my PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, it was it not only literally recorded the errors that it was having, and the record mode still ran despite none of the games running.
Oh, nice.
I could still take screenshots. I could still record video while the games are crashing and all kinds of shit.
Heck yeah. I mean, yeah, then in that case, I don't know how big a SKU would be, but they've done things for niche markets before. Like I'd love to see some drop like a content creator package kind of thing, like because I'll be honest, like I've seen a lot of videos. There are a lot of people being like, you know what I should do? I should stream, and like I think there's a lot of people out there who want to do that. I think it's like being like, I'm gonna be a rock star. That's just the 2024 version of that. But like, why not make it easy for people and sell them a bundle that has their headset or whatever. Like really lean on like, man, if you get a stream or something like that, you want to put out the highest quality thing you can. And if for some ungodly reason you decide that you want to be a streamer and stream exclusively through console, this would be your best bet. Just an untapped market, in my opinion. I was thinking about that earlier today. Figured I'd share it. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on here. The other things did happen. Although that literally we could literally just wrap up the show now. We spent like a good chunk of that. But there's still other stuff here. We got to talk about Xbox. Xbox is hurting, boy. Another 650 jobs cut. The hits keep coming.
Big oof.
Yeah, here's the thing. Again, we've seen this throughout the game industry this entire year, man. Things aren't looking good, And by the way, these people, Microsoft sent this email out at 3 a.m. so people wake up to this. That's classy.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Like you literally fire people in their sleep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
I mean, if they weren't shooting themselves in the foot, like Microsoft is doing a lot wrong right now. Damn it, I'm blanking on the name of the game studio that they just got rid of after praising them. But like we talked about how they don't
Tango Gameworks.
Thank you. There we go.
Yeah.
We've talked about how they don't seem to know what they're doing, and I think you guys actually probably put it best. Like I hadn't even connected the dots until you put it together on the show that it seems like Microsoft and Xbox aren't necessarily getting along and communicating real well right now, because as a company they seem a bit schizophrenic. So I think that is resulting in some pretty significant issues over there. And I think we all need to be a little bit concerned.
Yeah, apparently it's because of they're getting rid of redundancies post acquiring Activision Blizzard. But they did that before. Guess they still got more to get rid of. I mean,
knowing a lot of the fucking culture that was going on at Blizzard Activision, I'm surprised they didn't just clear house over there. Like what? Oh, I guess if they're doing that, that would technically be considered laying off Microsoft employees now, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So does that mean a lot of these layoffs were probably superfluous jobs from the acquisition?
Yeah, redundancies. Yeah, like why do we need two whatevers or shit like that? Let me read this real quick. And forgive me for reading from CNBC, but they link to the story. Fuck NBC in general. Anyway, Microsoft on Thursday said it's cutting 650 roles at its Xbox gaming division in the latest major round of layoffs to hit the video game industry. It marks the third series of redundancies in Microsoft's video game unit since the company's blockbuster acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the publisher behind Call of Duty, for $69 billion in cash. The U.S. tech giant confirmed to CNBC that it is cutting hundreds of roles at Xbox in, quote, mostly corporate and supporting functions. So, I guess, like, you don't need, extra marketing guys or whatever. But we kind of saw this coming,
It did, but I think this might be a case of, like, how sensationalist certain journalists, report on certain stuff. So, like, I'm going to look up here, like, the Blizzard Activision employee count.
It's a lot of people. But then how many did Microsoft lay off earlier? It was like 1,900, like almost 2,000 people earlier. Were the layoffs intentionally done after Black Ops was completed? I have no idea, bro. Who knows? They just get again. So go ahead.
It says Blizzard Activision number of employees in 2023 is 17,000.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That is insane. Okay, so if we're talking like, we're talking like less than 10% of the total jobs of the acquisition.
Yeah.
So shedding that much dead weight, it just doesn't seem as doom and gloom as a lot of the, because we've been getting and maybe I'm probably late to the party in the sense that, like, I realized redundancies, but, like, I guess I just didn't realize how much of it was just like, oh yeah, it's just fucking baggage from the acquisition. Like, I guess I didn't put that together. I just thought about, like, oh, we need to tighten our belts, but, like, there's no amount of belt loosening that makes you need two secretaries or two, like that's not even belt tightening. That's just not stupid business that comes along naturally with every acquisition. So it's not even less doom and gloom. It would be no doom and gloom, wouldn't it?
I guess, but I guess taken in the face of all the other, like, acquisition, all the other, layoffs that have happened this year in the gaming industry, it just looks bad. I guess it's optics,
I get that, and I get that it looks bad, but I guess that's what I'm kind of saying. Like, it looks bad, but, like, that's only if you plot these as part of a single thing. Like, I don't think this has anything to do with the rest of the industry doing it. So, like, it paints a doom and gloom picture, but, like, connection does not imply causality.
Yeah. No, I mean, this was going to happen regardless. You're right. Even if the industry was healthy, again, you don't need 3 secretaries for some bullshit to get the boss coffee. You only need 1, So those redundancies, getting rid of those people was going to happen regardless. But again, because of everything else that's happening, it's natural to just go like, oh, it's part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that my concern with that is it's an awfully binary answer for an awfully nuanced issue.
Yeah, but you know how the world works, bro.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Fair.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm curious. Again, doesn't seem like these were actual developers, it's just marketing people. So yeah, mostly corporate and supporting functions. So yeah, but it is acquisition related for sure. But again, we knew that was going to happen, but still, given everything that's happening now, it looks bad. But we do need to get to this next story because this one is fucking crazy. So Annapurna, Manny, what game did they make? The cat game, right?
They make Stray. They ported the Unfinished Swan, Journey. They've gone quite a bit of games.
Yeah. So the entire staff quit. They walked off. I'm like, I've never heard that before. What? Yeah. Let me read this story. This is insane.
Yeah. God damn.
Yeah. So this is from Push Square. The entire staff of video game publisher Annapurna Interactive has reportedly resigned. The label, part of billionaire film producer Megan Ellison's Annapurna empire, had been negotiating with its owner to spin off as its own independent entity. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, these talks broke down, prompting President Nathan Gary and around 24 other staff to resign. Shit. That's insane, dude. Wow. A spokesperson for Annapurna confirmed discussions had taken place over a potential spinoff which had failed. There's a quote. Our top priority is continuing to support our developer and publishing partners during this transition. We're committed to not only existing slate of games, but also expanding our presence in the interactive space as we continue to look for opportunities to take a more integrated approach to linear and interactive storytelling across film, TV, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I guess they were negotiating them breaking off, doing their own thing. That didn't happen, and they were like, okay, we're done.
Well, I mean, if they're breaking off and doing their own thing, I mean, theoretically, they're still breaking off and doing their own thing. Just the whole company just walked off.
Yeah, right. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Great.
So there's nobody. Yeah. I mean, definitely a way to kill off a company if you don't like what's going on there. To be honest, I wish more studios, more people would do that when their studios start doing bullshit.
Well,
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm very curious what was happening internally there before this, because this doesn't seem like just like the spinoff didn't happen. Like there's not an Annapurna studio now that's independent of the film division or whatever. It seems like this was like a straw that broke the camel's back scenario. Like there may have been tension before that, and then this was the last thing to just break everyone and go. I was just wondering, what were the working conditions? What was it? Low pay? Was it bad benefits? Were they sleeping there all the time? What was it that broke down in these talks, and what were the conditions in the studio beforehand to make everybody unanimously leave? Because you never hear of this.
Yeah, never heard of anything like this before for gaming.
But I mean, you got to remember that Annapurna is a publisher, and this is not like this is not the people that make Stray. They only published Stray. They only published a bunch of games. I don't know exactly what games that they've actually developed, but what looks like a lot of what's under their umbrellas is games that they're essentially publishing other games by other studios. So, again, if these guys, Annapurna Interactive, there's one game that's underneath them right now, and that's a Blade Runner game. It's called Blade Runner 2033 Labyrinth. So they did have that. So that means that game is effectively canceled if everybody walked off the studio, right?
That's true, yeah. Wild story, man. Again, never heard of anything like that for gaming.
I mean, hopefully Schreier could talk to somebody over there instead of just reporting about the layoffs.
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to talk to somebody over there and get a little bit more of a detail as to what's the goings on over there are.
Yeah. Rich, what's up?
Oh yeah, I do have one other thing to add to this story. For those that do remember, they recently signed a deal with Remedy to work on publishing for Control and Control 2 and Alan Wake. The actual community director of Remedy said tonight on Twitter that they are self-publishing, so they're still going to be working on this stuff. I guess it's not going to impact them specifically as far as the games they are working on, but I don't know if it's going to impact any of the other stuff they were doing with Annapurna as far as TV shows and stuff like that. So just have to wait and see, I guess.
Yeah.
Just to add, from what I read, they had signed up to a different division in the same company, which wasn't affected because there's interactive,
non-game division.
And then there's like another division that deals with TV, and I think that's what they signed up with because they're planning on like other Control media or Remedy media stuff apart from just games.
Cool. Yeah.
So on the plus side, it just means Control 2 is fine. That's how the good takeaway. Well, as far as we've heard, Control 2 is fine.
Well, that's good. But yeah, wild stuff, man. All right, moving on. We got to talk about Ubisoft. Chris, we got to talk about Ubisoft, man.
Ubisoft.
Yeah. So they're not
Ubisoft.
Yeah, they're about to be very soft. Things ain't looking so well over there. So yeah, they're. I'm gonna read this here. This fucking nuts too. The Assassin's Creed publisher's share price fell over almost 10% during trading that day, closing at 7.13%. And here's the crazy part. It has fallen more than 50% over the last 12 months and now sits close to a 10-year low. The company's share price had already declined significantly earlier this month, reportedly driven by a combination of poorer than expected launch for Star Wars Outlaws and a sharp decline in interest in free-to-play shooter X Defiant. I barely remember that game. On Monday, hedge fund AAG Investments published an open letter calling for strategic and structural changes at Ubisoft. Basically, they said, you guys need to go private. Like, shit. This is bad, bro. Yeah, because Star Wars Outlaws ain't doing no well. And let's be honest, they're about to have another bomb when Assassin's Creed Shadows drops, you know? So things are not looking good at Ubisoft. Chris, you and I have been talking about this, but what's your take on all this?
Well, I think Yves Guillemot definitely needs to be removed.
Yeah.
I agree with the investors' concerns, and they're just seeing their return on investment just plummet, and they're just seeing these bad decisions happening. And meanwhile, I guess Guillemot is like wealthy, or his family's wealthy.
Yeah, the family pretty much kind of owns it. Yeah, they pretty much own it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. They need some kind of turnaround in there because I don't know if he's. I was thinking about this when the news broke and we were discussing it.
Yeah.
If he was purposely letting these really poor decisions happen so he could buy up more of the company. But then I was like, but there has to be a turnaround at some point. Like, you have to get a controlling stake of the company, but your stock is still falling. So you have to turn it around somehow. And you don't have anything in the pipeline that's worth buying. Star Wars Outlaws is a disaster. Shadows is an upcoming disaster.
Mm-hmm.
Skull and Bones failed. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is a pipe dream. So what do you have? How do you right the ship? Like the next Division? Who's going to look forward to that when you're damaging so many brands that you have that people used to love?
If they bring it back to New York,
gotta be in New York. I'm gonna play it.
Oh man. Yeah. So it's very, very bizarre. Like, if that's his strategy, you have to dump the ESG stuff immediately and turn it around. But that takes years to turn around. So I don't really know what he's doing unless he's buying into that stuff or unless he's getting kickbacks on both sides. I don't know if Canada's doing like government subsidies for ESG scores.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but they could be that. And it's going to be up to the investors have to press the board to get rid of him somehow and turn it around. It's just a sinking ship, and I don't know how Ubisoft continues.
Apparently, their plan is to remaster a bunch of old Assassin's Creed games. I wish I was making this up. That's their grand plan, to right the ship. Old Assassin's Creed games. What if you would have made the new Assassin's Creed games like the old ones? How about that? Instead of all this nonsense you're injecting in there. Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be such a failure, bro. It's like, I think that, I don't know if it's going to kill the company because Ubisoft's so big, but it's going to hurt bad, Like, I don't know. I don't know what could save this company at this point. It's wild. Like, I was that BlackRock money really worth it in the end, bro? I don't know. It's like, I'm not going to get into that, but it's crazy. All right, Ubisoft. Ubisoft,
Ubisoft.
All right, another story I want to talk about is about plunging revenue here. Chris, our favorite store, GameStop. Their sales have down 45% this year, bro.
No, not GameStop.
Are the Stonks brothers going to help them out this time?
I know, right? Are they going to do another rally and like pull them out? Because I don't know. Like I was convinced they were not going to see 2024, and then the Stonk thing happened, and they were just sitting pretty, and people bought in, sold out, and they kept going. But their business model now is so ridiculous that they can't sustain themselves. Now they're selling toys and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, they're selling
like Hot Topic and a gaming store at the same time, and I don't know.
By the way, I find it's funny because a lot of people are talking about how, like, you only have to pay $350 for the PS5 Pro because you could trade in your existing PS5 to GameStop. What GameStop? They're closing stores left and right. You know, like, come on now. But yeah, again, this is Chris. We've been talking about this for like what 6-7 years now, and this company is still around somehow. You know.
I don't know how, unless it's just the used market holding them up. Because Game Informer's gone, right? They're like dying slowly. They're not like shuttering the whole thing or declaring bankruptcy immediately and all this, all the things with that. But it's like just a slow death, like closing stores, removing features, like changing merchandise, and now Game Informer's dead. So it's like there's no coming back from that because they haven't changed their model in a way that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Or that's going to earn them money. And I don't know, unless you have the Wall Street bets guys pull you out again, I don't see them surviving.
Yeah, no.
Well, Chris, you just brought up the reason why they're still alive.
I know.
Tweezers.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, hell, Reggie was on their board, and he sold out as soon as that shit happened.
Oh yeah,
he got out of there,
cashed out.
It's crazy, man. All right, so the last story here, and I want to end it on some good news, even though there was a tragic end to this one. Dreamcast people, this week saw the date of September 9th. And it was 25 years since the Dreamcast came out. Great system,
Never forget.
Yeah, never forget. Legendary system. That was a good day. Amid all the crazy Apple stuff happening that day, just thinking about the Dreamcast, all the games we played, and we're actually getting some of them soon. Power Stone's going to be coming. A Capcom collection. Yeah, man, it just made me think about how gaming used to be, with the Dreamcast 25 years ago and how it is now. It's like, man, we've fallen low, haven't we? It's kind of sad, but the Dreamcast will always be a great system. Like the launch games, bro, in America will never be topped. You've never seen that before or since, What do we have? Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, Ready to Rumble, all these fucking games, man. Power Stone, we would eventually get Crazy Taxi, Shenmue, lots of great
Skies of Arcadia.
Skies of Arcadia. It's like so many games on this thing, man. But it weirdly, but the thing is, obviously, people didn't buy it as much as we would have liked because, like, hey, PlayStation 2's coming. I'm gonna wait for that, and obviously Sega was already kind of limping after the 32X and the Sega Saturn, but at that moment in time, man, it felt like Sega was back, and you thought maybe this is it. Maybe this is finally going to happen. At that point, that was the most powerful console on the market at that point. The first 128-bit console to release in the market. It was like, this is it, man. We got the graphics. We got the fucking, like, everything was so good. But like, was it less than 2 years later? It was over. The dream was dead, man. But yeah, if you guys want to share any stories about the Dreamcast, man, you remember that summer, man? We were saving up. We pre-ordered that shit. And it wasn't GameStop. It was a store that eventually became GameStop, but we went to Software Etc.
Right?
Yeah.
Software Etc.
We were going there, pre-ordering that shit. Then a day came out. I was going to college at that point. I skipped that fucking day. I was like, fuck that. And I first went. I bought the system, but Manny, we went to your place first. because we both bought our systems the same day, I believe.
Yeah, we got it, but we both got them at that software etc. at that time.
But yeah, I remember going to your place first. We were playing the games, we were having fun. Then I went back to mine, and I remember buying Soul Calibur. I knew about Soul Blade and all that, but I was like, I need a fighting game. Let me buy this. Oh my god, it's so fucking good. You know?
Yep.
Like, that was great, man. So it's such a fun summer. Just wait for it. I remember that same software center had like kiosks. You could play Sonic Adventure, some of the other games.
Yep.
You know,
I mean, yeah. Well, I think we got a pretty good, amount of games off of that.
We did.
I remember having Sonic Adventure and Soul Calibur up front.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah. No, it was great, man. Does anybody else have any little Dreamcast stories they want to share?
Ready to Rumble.
Ready to Rumble was fun. Remember the demo disc for that fucking thing, man? There was some good stuff there.
Yep.
You know? And then eventually, obviously Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. Remember when Marvel vs. Capcom 2 for Dreamcast was like, it cost a lot of money on eBay and shit, That was like the definitive version. We also had Street Fighter Alpha 3. A lot of good fighting games on Dreamcast, even though the Dreamcast controller was not really good for fighting games.
Alpha 3 wasn't.
That was also on Saturn. It was. I have it.
It was on Saturn, but
it was on Saturn.
It was about Dreamcast.
Manny, I have the disc. Yeah, I have the disc. And Virtua Fighter 3. And again, Shenmue, man, that was game changing. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? And I, learned to come to find out Shenmue didn't sell that well. But to me, that was game changer. I'm like, wow, you're actually living in this world. A game is good when you're like compelled, or you're enthralled by waiting for a bus.
It wasn't. Oh yeah, you're right. Alpha 3 is on there. Yep,
yeah. Again, I own the disc.
I mean, yeah.
I remember I did buy like a 6-button controller from this other place we used to visit, Manny, on Northern Boulevard and Main Street. They used to hook us up with some import stuff.
The Games F Us.
Games F Us. That one? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. We bought a bunch of stuff.
There used to be Games R Us, but they might have gotten a cease and desist from Toys R Us. So they became Games F Us.
Yeah,
I think they changed their name.
This is how old we are. We actually used to have mom and pop game stores back in the day. Before
there was three that we used to visit. There was the other one that wasn't software etc. that was on Main Street in Austin, and that one was I can't remember that one.
It wasn't Babbage's, was it?
No, it wasn't a Babbage's. No. It was a guy. It was a guy. A single guy owned this place.
Oh,
it was like in the same.
Not Main Street, but it was in Austin Street. Yes.
No. It was on 71st and Continental. Yeah, not Austin Street.
Yeah, you said Main Street, but yeah, you're right. Remember, it was It was on the second floor where and then right where we get our comics, like across like the way and stuff. Yeah. Yes, that one guy was cool.
Because it was because he was on the same level as that Comic Cave moved up to. So they moved up to the second floor and he was on the other side of it.
Chris, you remember that,
Yeah, I can't remember. I can't remember that guy. Yeah. I can't remember his, but that was one of them. Then there was Software Etc. where we got the Dreamcast, and then there was a electronic boutiques on the other side of Austin Street back there. And then there was Games of Us on Main Street, where that giant big movie theater is at the end of that street over there. I can't remember the name of the there. And then the other one,
the one by Mike's CPS Games.
CPS Games,
yeah, that was the big one. Yeah, CPS Games. Going back a little bit, that's where I used to get my Sega Saturn import games. That's where I got X-Men versus Street Fighter and Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter from. And I remember that's the first place where I saw Resident Evil for PlayStation. They were demoing.
Yep, that's where we first saw it.
Yeah,
it hadn't even come out yet either. It was a Japanese one.
Man, we used to have it good with game stores back in the day, people. I mean,
that's the sucky thing about now is like now, ever since that, like, whoever owns software, etc. Whoever owns software, etc. or GameStop was it Barnes and Noble? Yeah, Barnes and Noble owned them. When they like swallowed up like friggin' Funko Land and both EB Games and the software, etc. Then they all grew into this giant, stupid GameStop garbage, there were so many more stores that you could see now. Like I noticed that there's now that you're starting to see more come up, but it's like I sort of miss that. I like the actual mom and pop game store than the sort of like stupid ass,
corporate ones.
bullshit. Yeah.
But even those are going away because people are buying games digitally now.
I mean, no, I mean a lot of the stores are not going away. They're just
I'm talking about like GameStop.
Yeah, GameStop, but like the mom and pop stores, they're not really going away. It's more that they've become more about traditional, like selling all kinds of games from all the different eras.
Yeah,
so
I wasn't talking about those. I was talking about GameStop.
Old games.
Yeah. Mom and pop stores are now retro stores, basically.
Yeah, they're pretty much retro gaming stores, but you could still buy like new games there. Like I live near I can't remember the name of the place, but they sell a lot of classic games. They sell the original Dreamcasts. They fix Dreamcasts there. So
yeah, shout out to the Dreamcast, man.
Yeah, great console, man. Like it definitely defined the future of gaming. Like what we know as games now, a lot of that was all pioneered by that console, and it was only a few years that they did it too, right? They had a modem on the back of their console, so they had online gaming. This was before before the LAN parties with the Xbox. They had a lot of that. They already had a lot of that. They had a phone line on there. They had DLC. You could download stuff for Sonic Adventure, to like, especially they had like what was it? Get like seasonal things too. Like you could get like a Christmas pack for Sonic Adventure and a bunch of other things. So it was a lot of things that Phantasy Star Online was
huge on Dreamcast. Yeah,
for a lot of people was a lot of their first online experiences. Playing on pretty much an MMO, not an MMO. Yeah. What do you call that sort of game? It's not an MMO, is it?
It isn't, but it kind of is.
Kind of is. Yeah, kind of is. But at least at the time, I definitely think that the Dreamcast literally did pave the way for the Xbox. The Xbox, at least for a lot of people, a lot of people saw the Xbox as essentially the successor Dreamcast of whatever the Dreamcast was.
Yeah. Remember the VMU? That was pretty innovative.
Yeah, the VMU was you could put little games on it.
Yeah.
Like, for games like for Sonic Adventure, you had that stupid Chow game that you used to play on there to try to unlock. I remember Tony used to play the shit out of that stupid Chow game.
I played that,
you killed the battery inside of the stupid VMU.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, the battery didn't last very long in that thing.
Yeah.
And wasn't there some like arcade games you could bring your save file into? Like you
could take your VMU to an arcade machine, and like especially the ones that were using the boards, you could stick the VMU into it. But a lot of those weren't really common for American the American games. It was more for the Japanese stuff. So, games like Soul Calibur, like the Japanese version of Soul Calibur actually did have the VMU slot in it.
Yeah. But yeah, anybody else want to say anything about the Dreamcast?
I didn't get mine at launch, but I went to Funko Land. I got sick. I had N64, and I was just like, nah, this thing sucks. And I really wanted the Dreamcast. Like I saw it I think I went to Roosevelt Field and I saw it there.
Oh, nice.
I want this shit. But at the same time, I wanted to get rid of I was like, I didn't have the money then. So I was like, nah, I'll sell my N64. So I took all that shit to Funko Land and I took a little extra money and I bought, they had a Dreamcast there and I bought it. So that's how I got mine.
Nice. What about Brett? What about you? You have any Dreamcast stories?
I mean, I have all the Dreamcast stories because I, much like you gentlemen, am old. So, I mean, I had been fiending over the Dreamcast, but I hadn't had a reserve in, and I had a buddy who had come back the day it was released, who he had gotten his, and I was over there playing, and his stepdad came back. He's like, "Oh, you already got one." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I had a pre-order in for one, but you already got one." And I was like, "Oh my god, can I please have your pre-order? I will rake leaves, I will mow lawns. You tell me what gutters need clean, and I will do it for that fucking pre-order, whatever." So I managed to get a hold of that pre-order, and it was amazing. It was everything that you could want it to be. It felt like you said, like Sega was back, and they were really delivering the hits. And it was tough to understand all the logistics at play, and I was heartbroken when it died because I think it to this day it still goes down as one of those. It was such a fantastic launch, and so tragic when it died, and it kind of feels like it, especially not by today's lens, like how something like for you young bloods out there, if something launched today with that launch lineup, people would just be losing their goddamn minds. They'd be throwing themselves out fucking windows. Like, it's just, I can't even imagine. Like, for the time, it was a great launch lineup, and we were living in a time of bountiful plenty.
Those were good days, man. And here's how I would. I've said this story many, many times on Throwdown. I was so distraught over the Dreamcast going away that I thought I was done with gaming. I thought I was like, it's over.
Yep.
Because I was a hardcore Sega fanboy. If Twitter existed back then, I'd be one of those toxic assholes on Twitter talking all that shit. Granted, I have the excuse of being a teenager, but still, I would be one of those. I love Sega. Sega was the shit. I was like, fuck Sony when the PS1 was out. Even I secretly kind of liked it. I would go to Manny's house, look at him playing Metal Gear and Final Fantasy. But I had to keep up appearances, right? Fuck Sony, fuck PlayStation, all that shit, right? So when Dreamcast died, I'm like, I guess I'm done. Like, no more gaming, And I kept that up for like 3 months. I would just play my Dreamcast and that's it. And then our boy Mike, somebody that he knew, was selling PlayStation 2s real cheap. I think he might have got them off the back of a bus or something, bro. Because like these things were like, it was like cheaper than like we get, Manny, the Gran Turismo edition, right?
Yeah, the back of the bus, maybe the back of a truck.
It was trying to be the back of a truck. Yeah, I'm like, you must have stolen these fucking things, man.
He had quite a bit of them. Yeah,
but yeah, so we got hooked up, and even that entire generation, even though I love me PlayStation 2, I still think the PlayStation 2 is arguably the best system ever released. I still was upset that I had to play it because I wanted my Dreamcast to be alive. It wasn't until the PS3 era that I accepted PlayStation. It was like, being with a girl, I guess she's hot. The pussy's good, but I don't like her. She's, I want the other girl that I used to have. But the Dreamcast, man, just the fact that we still talk about it so, like, in reverence, like 25 years later, says something. And we're still going to be talking like that 50 years, if we're still alive in 25 years, What a great system. We'll never. I feel bad for the young guys, man, who never experienced that shit, man. Not only the system itself, but the hype leading up to it, man. That was a great fucking summer waiting for that Dreamcast. And then I bought every single issue of Dreamcast magazine. That was the only magazine I ever bought that I read from beginning to end every fucking month, bro. It was real. It was real, And Sega, here's the thing. I don't begrudge them going third party. It kept them alive, and they're doing very, very well for themselves right now. So even though it is upsetting, there's no more Dreamcast and no more Sega hardware, I'm still glad Sega is still around. And they're doing pretty well. But obviously the Sega that we have now could not produce the Dreamcast, or it's something similar. It's very different people, But yeah, Dreamcast for life, man. Dreamcast is the shit, All right, man, let's start wrapping things up here. Rich, do you have anything to plug over on the Coalition?
Yes. There's a lot of stuff happening right now. It's a very busy time of the year. And the thing is that we're only really just getting started. So Yeah, I actually have a review for Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection on the website right now. In case Tony hasn't already told you guys, you need to check that out. You need to play that game. That goes without saying.
Yeah, I'll definitely get into it because I wanted to get into it tonight, but the Sony news kind of took over everything. But yeah, the game it makes me very happy. I've been waiting for this collection since the Dreamcast was out. Like 25 years basically waiting for this fucking collection. I'm so fucking happy right now. I'm trying to enjoy this moment as much as possible. I'm like, I got Marvel's Capcom and Astro Bot. Enjoy it, Tony, because you're not gonna be playing any more games after this. At least for the rest of the year, unless something else drops. But yeah, Rich, I'll definitely check out your review. But the game is so fucking good. Oh, so good. Anyway, continue, sir.
Oh yeah, no, I agree 100%. So like I said, there will be a lot of things continuing to get posted. I played quite a bit of games, a couple of reviews. We have a ton of reviews in the work. Just about everybody on the website is working on a review right now. So
that's good.
Definitely stay tuned. A lot of content coming. But yeah, that's all I have to plug right now. Oh yeah, one last thing. I Am Negan will be returning soon, in about 2 weeks. So if you are a Walking Dead fan, stay tuned for that because there's a lot to talk about with the Daryl Dixon show.
Yeah, and that's you, Adam, and Carlos, right?
That is correct.
Yeah, go check that out for sure. The Nuke. Oh man, Riku goes. I felt betrayed when I saw Sonic Adventure 2 on Nintendo. It was
you are the betrayer.
Remember how weird that was? I think what was the first Sega game on Nintendo? It was like Sonic and the Olympics or some shit like that. But I just remember how weird that was. Like Sonic on Nintendo. That really clinched it. Like, yeah, this shit is over, bro. Very interesting. Because remember the rivalry? That was the first console war, people. Sega versus Nintendo back in the day. First console war. Some of you motherfuckers listening weren't even alive back then. But that was real. That was the first one and the best one. Because we still played each other's games at the end of the day. It wasn't all this toxic shit we get now. Oh man. All right, so we're done here. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You could also check us out on any podcast app on the planet. Throwdown Show. That is 2 words, Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you happen to watch
no Throwdown Show anymore.
What happened? No more Throwdown Show?
We're
done?
There's no throwdownshow.com anymore.
Okay.
That no longer exists. You will now be going to us on the that platform you're going to be mentioning next in the script.
You mean Audio Boom.
Audio Boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, check us out on Audio. Yeah, I guess I got to redo that now. Fuck, we've been saying that shit for years.
Yes.
Yeah, go to Audio Boom. We're on there. Audio Boom's dope, by the way. If you're like interested in doing a podcast, get yourself an Audio Boom account, man, because it puts you. That's why we're on every podcast app on the planet, bro. Because of Audio Boom, we're on some platforms I never even heard of. It just puts you everywhere. But obviously, we're also on the good stuff, Spotify. We're on fucking like Samsung and shit. I didn't even know they had a platform until somebody told me. I'm like, all right, we're on that too. Anyway, if you also, and I saw some guys from the YouTube, shout out to you guys. So if you like the video, if you liked all our videos, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when we go live on Thursdays and Sundays at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. And links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco. And tonight, I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Deuces.
Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
And Brian Manjoma.
If the PS5 is just a Pro version of the PS4 Pro, does that make the PS5 Pro the PlayStation Pro?
Yes. Yes, it does. Oh, man. I thought it was Pro version of the PS5. Brian.
Oh no, the joke says that the PS5 just plays PS4 games.
That's true.
So hence it's just a Pro version of the PS4 Pro. So hence this is like a Pro version, the Pro Max.
And to be fair, we did call the PS5 the PS4 Pro. So this would be the Pro. So there you go. Oh man. All right, people. We'll see you on Sunday. Later.